Good morning, I'm Elle, I'm the Keystone Stitcher. Today is April 1st, 2024. And I know I just said good morning, but you probably won't see this till evening. We are having thunderstorms and it knocked our power out. The power's back on, but the internet's not. So I don't know when the internet will be back on. When it does, I'll upload this. So, how was your Easter? Ours was good. Ours was quiet. Just had a quiet dinner. We celebrated on Saturday because the kids, my grandchildren, are off on spring break, and so my son decided he was taking them on a cruise. So they were leaving Sunday, so Easter became Saturday. Okay, I have a lot to show you today. I have new starts I'm going to be showing you. I have purchases, and I rarely purchase much, but I went on this buying spree. So yeah, let's get into the whips first, and then we'll do plans that will lead into all the new starts. And I want to focus on an artist that I've shown before, but he plays very strongly in a new start. So we'll get into that. All right, so whips. The first one that I worked on, was Midsummer's Eve, and this is Midsummer's Eve. The artwork is by Jennifer Taylor. It's charted by Contemporary Cross, and I'm doing this on a 20 count aida. I've completed the first 2 pages and I'm working on page 3. So I don't know how I want to do this. So I just worked down here. I put in 765 stitches. I'll put a picture over my face of where it was. So you can just see this is where I was. So this is currently now at 6.54%. And yeah, I wish I had more time to work on this, but you know, it is what it is. Let me put this over here. Okay, my next one is one that you saw a lot of last year, and you haven't seen too much of this year. This is one of the projects that I picked for 24%, an additional 24% I wanted to add to the project by the end of 2024. I'm way off, way off. I should have completed about 4,000 stitches a month. And I'm not sure I have 4,000 stitches in 3 months. But this is strength. Let me pull her back. I've gone all the way down to the bottom, but I'm back up here now. Let's see. Okay, so I was working on this section here, and I finished this page, and I came over here and finished that page. And then I came down and started putting some stitches into this next page. So I'll bring this in so you can see. And I'll put a picture in next to it of that section. And actually what I did is I took a picture of those first 2 pages I was completing. And then I realized I finished it and I could move on down. And so here's a second picture of just that section there. So this artwork is by Nicolee Payne. Her artwork is charted by Unconventional Cross Stitch or UnconventionalXStitch. And like I said, I think I said that artist is Nicolee Payne. I completed 2,231 stitches. I'm now at 26.34%. But if I am to finish the 24% this year, I would need 46.82% complete. So you can see, yeah, I still need 20% to go. That's not good. So, but yeah, it's so much fun now not to be working in all this black. So I did all that black. Yeah, I did all that last year. So that is, I don't want to put this on the floor. Okay, I'm going to put this back here. Okay, so then my next one was my Weaver's Tapestry. Now, the day before I picked this up, I broke my hoop. And so I decided, okay, we'll put this on my scroll rods. So these are on the scroll rods. I was working on this band, and I think I had this side here I started on. So here's where it was. And you can see, I think, let me see, yeah. So there's the bottom. I don't think I can get this in. Can I get this? Yeah, pretty much. That's probably going to be the last time I will get it in. I have 4 bands left. So this, I've now completed 30 of 48 bands, leaving me only 18. but here's what is left. So you see I have 2 large bands and 2 small bands in between. And that's it. So yeah, that was my Weaver's Tapestry. Oh, this is on 18 count Skopelos by TheSewingShop.ca. And I'm stitching this using 3371. Okay, and finally my focus piece is Beetle Pop. This is what Beetle Pop will look like. And here's where it was last time you saw it. So when you last saw it, I was at 53.28%. I'm now at 79.71%. That's an increase of 26.43%, and I have just over 20% left. And here she is. Let's see. Yeah, I think I can get most of her in. So here's where she was before. And you can see I was right around her lip line, and I was bringing her face down. So I've now finished her entire face and neck, all of her hair. I then came in here and filled in her tooth and the snake. And now I've come down and I just started yesterday adding in some white on her hand. So yeah, all I do now is finish her hand and do Beetlejuice. I even did that stick right here for the Beetle Pop. And yeah, that was fun. Now that surprised me. I didn't notice in the artwork that that was in seafoam green and dark greens around the edges. Because to me, suckers, even if it's an ice cream pop, it's going to be on a white stick or it's going to be on a natural, like a bamboo, like wood type stick. It's not going to be green. So color-wise, her hair is green. Her eyebrows are blues. Her eyelids are purple. And then she has, her freckles are reds and pinks. Her lips, of course, are deep red. Her fingernail is a blood red. And the stick is in seafoam green and teals. And yeah, I love those pops of color. So you can see, yeah, she's all the way done up there. And now she's all the way down. And it needs a good iron. It needs, you know, stretched and ironed, but you can see when you pull it out, she's going to look really good. So I think the next time, we're going into plans now, the next time that you see me, she should be done. So if you're not a fan of this, yeah, you should only see it one more time and you should see it finished. If you are a fan of this, you should see it finished next time and see what Beetlejuice will look like. So once I finish this, I need a new focus piece. And my original plan was to go to a full coverage, because I haven't done a full coverage yet this year to finish. But I didn't think I would be ready to get to that third finish, the third focus, until the 1st of May. Because I will get to it sooner, I've decided that my Weaver's Tapestry, that having only those 4 bands left, I might be able to finish this before the 1st of May. So that will be my new focus piece. So you may see both next time you see me. Okay, so now we go into the new starts. Let me rearrange some of this and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So my first new start is one that is not a new purchase. This is Eyes of the Forest. It's this right here. I found this as a PDF available on mybobbin.con. The total size of this is 210 by 303. And I knew at some point this year I would start this. But when I showed this, when I purchased it, my friend Carrie, who is the patient stitcher on Flosstube and on Instagram, she ran and bought it. And so we decided we would start it together. She is going to change one thing. Now, I love everything about this, and my favorite color is blue. But she's decided that she's going to change out, and she's going to make the eyes yellow. So I can't wait to see which yellow she picks, and I'm kind of hoping she starts at the center so I can see her eyes. I picked out a hand-dyed fabric that has been in my stash forever that just, I can't find anything to put on it. And then luckily I decided to measure and make sure that it was the 18 count that I thought it was, because I had almost an inch top and bottom, but I only had about 3/4 of an inch on the sides. It's a good thing I did, because it turns out that that was not an 18 count, that was a 16 count. And with all these blacks and dark colors, there's no way I'm stitching that on white and having the see-through. So I dyed a piece of fabric. It's a little bit darker than what you're seeing, but I just threw this in some red dye. I figured anything was better than pure white. So this is just a purple that I dyed. This is an 18 count, and I will be putting that on this because, yeah, if you use white, you get that show through if your stitches aren't perfect. And being that I'm doing this on 18 count, it's possible you could see through little areas. Now, normally I would use a fabric called Very Light Pewter, named Very Light Pewter, and it's a Zweigart fabric. But I have a chart that I've requested to be charted by UnconventionalXStitch. They chart all the artwork by this one artist, and she had a piece that I wanted. They have the piece, but it's not charted yet. And so I have a piece of Very Light Pewter, but I don't want to cut it up because I want to save it for that, which means I needed to dye something because I had nothing else. I also bobbinated my flosses for this because this has blends. So you can see I just have a little bit on here. I measured out about 16 inches and I did like 3 sections of 16 inches and put them on a bobbin. Normally when I do blends, I will like divide it and I'll put one number at the top and one number down here in this little area here, and I will wrap both colors on the bobbin. And then once I've blended the colors, any excess that I have, I will hang from this hole. But with this one, multiple colors, say for example 37.99, is used with 3 other colors. And I didn't want to have that many. So each color now has its own bobbin. The next one, actually let me show you this before I do my next new start. So one of my purchases were bobbins. And I ordered 3D printed bobbins. And they come rubber banded together in stacks. And they're in numerical order. So you just open a stack and they come, I just made that stack look messy, but they come, these ones are how they come. And then they pack these. So you get 2 boxes. The first one is 01 through 815, and then this is 816 to be 5200. This one also includes white ecru in the end here. I'm so happy with these. The way these are charted, or the way these are printed, the number is actually inside the plastic. So you can't rub them off. They're not on top. It's actually part of. And then these slots for putting the ends of your floss in is done on an angle. And you can see I hope you can see, I cannot get my fingernail in there. With these, I can get my fingernail in there. I can wiggle it around. I've got plenty of room. So it's very hard for my floss, see this one's off. It's very hard to keep the floss in the slots. And so my bobbin box is a mess because any of that excess that I rewrap, it comes off, you go to put a bobbin in, you're catching it, and I'm constantly taking bobbins out and rewrapping them. And so with these new bobbins, yeah, that's right, they're textured on the back and they're smooth on the front. But with these, my bobbins don't unwind. Now I'm still, as you see, I still have some to do. This is what my bobbin case now looks like, where I have those. The only problem, I ran into 2 problems with these. The first problem is that I couldn't close my case, and I couldn't figure it out because these are the same height, they're exactly the same size. So you can see I put the 2 together, and they're the same size. So why wouldn't my case close? They're thicker, and I don't know if I can you see the thickness? They are much thicker than the DMC. So I had to take, you can see in the front here, I had to take the 2 front pieces and turn them sideways because in trying to figure out why it wasn't closing, I realized that these thinner bobbins by DMC, when you close the case, there's a little notch inside behind where you're always opening and closing it to reinforce the plastic. These, when it comes down, it just pushed these out of the way and it closed. These being thicker, it just comes down and sits on top. So I've had to turn the bobbin in those 2 rows sideways in order to close the case. The other problem I've run into is that they're thicker, so not all of my flosses are going to fit in my double-sided case. I will have to pick up a small case. I think it's going to be somewhere close to 80 colors are not going to fit in my double-sided case by using these. I was a little disappointed, but the pros far outweigh the con. And so I will continue. Let me put this bobbin back away before I lose it. Sorry about that. Okay, so now let's get into my other... Oh, and I also wanted to say, when you purchase these bobbins come from the Nifty Needler shop on Etsy. And they also include... Oh, there's extra pieces here. They include this bobbin winder. There's extra pieces that you use with a drill, so it makes it quick to transfer your bobbins. I didn't use that, but it's there. They also included, I think it was an accident, and so I have to go through all of them to make sure this is the only section. But these that I have, this little stack, and this one that I was showing you, these are for the variegated colors. And because I'm thinking, why we don't have these colors? There's 48, there's 51, and then I saw 115, and I went, these are the variegated. So once I go through all of them, if I have any more of the variegated or any more colors, I will do a giveaway for these and for the bobbin winder. And that way you can test them and see if you like them as well. Okay, so my other new start is where I want to focus on an artist. The artist is Guisseppi MIconi, and I love his artwork. It's unique, it's imaginative. His artwork is charted by Megan of StitchingMoondesigns. She's also Stitching Moon here on Etsy, on Flosstube. So I want to show you a couple and tell you what I find so interesting. This first one is the monk's fish. Now, I don't think I will ever stitch this one, which is weird. This one doesn't speak to me, and I find it strange because I grew up fishing, I grew up around the lake, I grew up in the water, and yet I don't know what it is. This next one is balance, and I look at this and think that is so cool, and it is so colorful. But again, it's not one I could see me putting up on my walls. Now this next one, I absolutely adore. If you have a thing with spiders, you might not want to look at this one. This is Fearless, and I love the spiders. She's not afraid, and I'm not afraid of spiders. I love spiders, snakes, lizards. I love them all. She's not afraid of the spiders. She's got this big head, this big chest, but follow all the way down to the bottom and look at her feet. She's got these tiny, tiny legs and these tiny, tiny feet, and it's almost like it's a wheel. And I counted the feet, and there's 7 feet there. So there could be one hiding, making it 8, like the spider. That may very well be one that I stitch because that makes me laugh every time. I sit there and go, okay, I get the spiders because that would freak a lot of people out. But the tiny, tiny legs and feet, it's like, where did you come up with that? I just think that is so cool. The other one is Daydream. Daydream or Daydreamer? I think it's Daydream. I'm sorry, the internet's out. I can't double check. And this one, this just reminds me of me. When I was growing up, we had this huge weeping willow tree, and nobody ever trimmed it. So it was like a carpet. It would come down, and the branches would just lay across the ground. And I would take a book out, and I would crawl under that tree, lean up against the tree trunk. I would read my book. I would glance up and listen to the birds. We had wild strawberries that grew on the ground, so I had my snack. I lived under that tree for several years of my life, well, until we moved. That was where I lived. And I used to part the branches and go inside and then carefully put them back, going, yeah, that way nobody can see me. Everybody knew I was there. But I look at that and I think, yeah, that there's no better place to be than staring up at a tree and just kicking back. This next one, you've seen. This is Stoned Expression. This is one that I'm stitching. The big stone head reminds me of the big stone heads they've unearthed in South America. And the idea of kids climbing around and playing on these stone heads. Yeah, that's something, that'd be their version of a jungle gym. And so I love it. I love the colors. I love everything about it. I love the fact that it's in a forest. So now this next one, this is my new start. And I had contacted, Megan and I were talking, and I asked her if she would chart one for me that Guisseppi did. Completely different from everything else. And she said, yeah, but I'm not charting right now. So she had had a baby. She was starting a new business, and they were looking for a home to move. They've since found a home and they've moved. And let me tell you, if you have not seen her last video, she has the most beautiful view. I would never leave. That view is to die for. But she said, when I get around to it, I'll chart this for you. And I said, okay, no hurry, no big deal. But she charted for me. And then she told me she was charting it. And she said, because I asked would I like to name it? Because Guisseppi doesn't name any of his artwork. And the only phrase that came to mind when I first saw it was the only one that seemed to work. And so I've named this Life Support. I suggested Life Support, and she's named it Life Support. This here reminds me of my oldest grandson. And because the hand, it's not defined, it's chubby, right? So it reminds me of a toddler. And when he was a toddler, to say he had impulse control, that doesn't even come close to explaining my grandson. But he loved being in the gardens with me, and he loved pulling weeds. Because you do that. When you have a garden, you make sure you don't have weeds in your garden. And so I would spend hours just putzing around in my gardens. And he got to the point, I don't know, 2.5, 3, somewhere in that range, where he decided he knew which were weeds and which weren't. And he would just start yanking. And I can't tell you how many times we'd have to go, no, stop! And we'd have to replant it and throw some water around, pour some water around the roots, hoping to save the plant before, he had done too much damage to it. So when I saw this and I saw the ball of water at the bottom, my instinct was life support. This plant has taken its own life support with it until somebody can save it from that toddler. So this is the new start that I will be having this month. I'm putting it on this piece of 20 Count Aquarius by Color & Cotton. And yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. I cut this, you can see it's kind of narrow. I cut this in half, and I used half for my Long Dog band sampler, and now I can use the other half. I've just held on to it going, one day I will have a piece that works, and now I do. So this piece measures 190 by 558, and I considered getting black fabric and trying to speed it up, but for me, I can't see black fabric. So a lot of people will say, yeah, I can stitch on black fabric if I stitch on Aida. I don't even like stitching on Aida. And I know you can put a light box and you can do all kinds of things, but it will take me longer to stitch that if I try to put it on black fabric than if I just stitch all the black. So that is going on that. So those are my two new starts. Eyes of the Forest with Carrie. I'm not sure what day we're starting it. She's got fabric coming in. She thought it would be in by this week. So as soon as her fabric comes in, she and I can start that. And then the Life Support I will start. I had another purchase, and that is a Nerd Tube, because I didn't know you could break these screws. They're pretty secure, and you can see they're on an angle. I'm trying to do this backwards. So they've got this mechanism inside there. So it's not like a screw you would normally see on your wooden hoops. And I didn't think you could break it, but yeah, I went to tighten this down last Friday, and all of a sudden it just popped like it was stripped. So I hurried up and ordered that, which is why Weaver's Tapestry went on the scroll rods. And I actually like Weaver's Tapestry on the scroll rods. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Let me check my notes. Oh no, I had another purchase. Okay, so when I asked Megan about stitching life support, and she said, yeah, but it'll be a while. Okay, I also saw a piece of art by an artist. I follow her artwork, but she's charted by Unconventional Cross Stitch. And so I asked Jody if she could chart that. And she told me, yes, she just got a bunch of images in that she would be charting, but it's not done yet. And so I was itching. I knew I had finished Pokemon, and I was itching for something else. Now, I showed you Midsummer's Eve, I'll put it over here, that I worked on earlier this month. And if I could stitch, say I could stitch that in a month, I would stitch every single piece of artwork by Jennifer Taylor, who's the artist. But since, you know, they're 500 by 500, you can't stitch that in a month. But yeah, I would have an entire wall of just her artwork. And so when I was itching to buy and start something completely new, I knew I wanted another Jennifer Taylor. And so I bought this. This is Woodland Blossoms. It's also 500 by 500. Pretty much all of her pieces are 500 by 500. And they're charted by Contemporary Cross. So that was going to be my new start. And yeah, that's not going to be my new start now. So I bought it. It'll be put away maybe towards the end of the year. I'll feel comfortable starting it. Right now, I don't need another new start. So those were my purchases. And I think that's probably it. Yeah, I'm going to finish Beetle Pop. I have a frame. I've already purchased the frame. When I purchased the frame for Pokemon, I knew Beetle Pop would be done soon, so I ordered that frame. And I didn't think it would take too long to do Weaver's Tapestry, so I ordered that frame. So when those are done, they can be finished and hung up. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. Sorry if this feels a little rushed. I have an appointment here soon, and it's still in the back of my mind of when am I going to be able to upload this, because we have no internet. Yeah, not sure what, if the storm knocked it out, how bad it is, but we'll just have to wait and see. So with that said, I hope you have a great 2 weeks. I hope you have nice weather. We're getting cold. I've got to go out here in a little bit. So yeah, a jacket, sweater, I'll be changing again. But yeah, it's supposed to get cold enough to snow this weekend, or this week during the nights. And of course, my son is on a cruise going, yeah, it's going to be about mid-80s every day. And I'm going, yeah, can I trade places? So I hope you have the warmer weather. I hope you're not freezing. I'm freezing today. And I will see you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, take care. Bye.